and may I say Warami, which is Darug language for welcome, and that's obviously the traditional lands which I come from today, and I pay my respects to all elders, past, present and future, for the lands that we operate on today and we occupy. So today is a little bit different. We're going to have a bit of a co-share facilitator experience. So I have my president with me today, which is so lovely to have you, Martin. And he's going to be facilitating half of the session, and I'll start off. The reason why, I'm going to let Diana fill you in on that one, but before I do, I just wanted to reiterate the purpose of why we are all here, why we do what we do, and as you may remember from my strategic intent presentation, that we are now very much committed and all aligned with enriching communities and connecting them with nature for the health and getting more fulfilled lives in our communities. And that's why we do our activities, our education, our therapy, and us as an organisation helping you do exactly what you do best. So that's why we're here, and we're supportive of so many different organisations and operators, and it's great to see we've got quite a few joining us now. This week in review, what can I say? I put that little image up there because that's what I feel like I've been doing all week, is just talking and here I am talking again. So it's been a lot of conversations, and look, thank you to most of you I can see there. I've talked to you. I don't think there's anyone there that I haven't spoken to this week about different things that are happening, and it's certainly getting some great traction in understanding what we need to do to move forward, and some of the practices that we've got to put in place. I had a great conversation with Business New South Wales Policy Unit this week, and they're certainly very understanding of our position, our open letter, and have been advocating for us amongst the tourism sector and the tourism unit there. And thanks again to Mel for sharing her case study last week about the border issue, because we've been able to now escalate that up to Business New South Wales to use that as part of their argument and dealing with the politics up there. I had also a great catch up with the Office of Sport on our strategic alignment following our strategic intent document, and now dealing with Karen Jones and her team and Gary. We are now aligning the two strategies and making sure that where we head as a board with our strategic plan, that we are acknowledging the different similarities and the progress forward for Office of Sport as well as ourselves. One thing that's really come to mind as we're looking at all the different things that are in this sector and what need improvement, and also the risk that we have before us with the current restrictions and lockdowns, is our career path opportunities. And it's something that I'm focusing on when I get the time, amongst other things, to really understand some of the career paths that exist. So I've been able to jump onto a few of your forums and different things like Inside the Outhouse, which has been a great knowledge gathering exercise from me to understand some of the career path challenges that we have in the sector. If anyone's got any insight or ideas around career pathing in this sector, I really reach out to you to contact me on it, because I'd really love to hear from you. It certainly will be building a lot of the content that I'm putting together. So if you've got some intel there, please reach out and chat to me. I'm going to skip the next one because that's half of our session today, is the media attention that we're getting on our open letter. Another activity is we've been putting more grant applications out to make sure that we can run this Road to Recovery program for you. You may remember some months ago now, I showed you that we have pulled together a Road to Recovery program that primarily looks at capacity building for the sector, and that means delivering excellent content to you as operators and participants in the sector to get you upskilled and able to take on some of the challenges now and into the future. So hopefully some of those grant applications will come forth. We've had a few successes, so that's great. We're choosing off little bits and pieces to start implementing out of that program, but we hope that we'll get some of those grant applications of the larger scale through soon. And the last one there is a great conversation I had with Equilibrium magazine, which is a byproduct of Raw Energy. And it's a brand new magazine that's really emphasizing on health and well-being for people. So we've had some excellent conversations there, and it looks like we've got a nice little partnership being developed with that magazine to expose people in the outdoors and what we do to help in that area. So as I say, a very busy week, but I wanted to introduce Diana, who I have known for quite a few years, and I feel that she's the best person to take us on this journey for what we've had to do from our open letter. So you can see there that that snapshot was taken last night off that Facebook page. So we've had a great amount of reach. We've had a great amount of engagements and shares thanks to you guys. And if you haven't shared it or engaged with it, please make sure that you do. But I've got to say, we're preaching to the converted when it comes to this Facebook post. And that's great. We've got everyone aligned. We've got everyone on the same page. All the comments have been amazing. But now, Diana, I'm going to ask you to step in and tell us where we needed to head to next.
Yeah, hi everyone, morning. Nice to meet you all. I can see a couple of lovely faces there, a lot of words. It's a bit weird talking on Zoom. I'm not a huge fan of it. I miss my people. I miss having that boardroom conversation. But yeah, look, thanks for your time, and thanks Laurie for inviting me on this call. Laurie and I have worked together for many, many, many years, and yeah, she asked me a couple of weeks back to help with an open letter, and I didn't know anything about it, to be perfectly honest with you. It was very much out of my vision, and I read the letter and I went, oh my God, okay, this is a really big deal. And so I said, absolutely, I'm more than happy to help. So I've got quite a number of years under my belt being a publicist for numerous different organizations and industries. Being in the tourism sector was when I first met Laurie. And to be honest with you all, I think that your open letter is absolutely just. I think it's a horrible double standard, and we've been working very hard with quite a few media organizations to try and get a little bit more headway so we can start the conversation a little bit more. I know that you know, times are tough for everyone. I know that you're not alone in that, and a lot of you have been hit quite significantly with this unprecedented time, I think is the most overused adjective in this current environment. But I don't think that you should be tarnished or so swiftly disregarded that what Gladys said a couple of weeks back. So that all said, I know I'm preaching to the converted. We reached out to Channel 9. I've got some pretty close contacts in Channel 9, and one of the producers jumped on it straight away. But the one way that we could get it across the line was, though, we needed a medical expert. We needed someone to state the facts of going, well, what is the difference between being in a pub and a club versus being in an outdoor space? To us, it's all completely logical. We get it. Like, how silly. Why do you need a medical expert? But they needed someone to definitively say, with all things being regarded and our understanding of COVID to date, we need that medical expert to get it across the line. We have said a medical expert. His name is Dr. Phil Humphries. He is an infectious disease expert in Blacktown. He has worked at the UN and has dealt with many other epidemics, Ebola, SARS. So he's pretty up to speed when it comes to infectious disease and what it looks like from a COVID perspective. He's also managing one of the respiratory clinics. He was actually with the organisation he works with, which is Kildare Road Medical Centre in Blacktown. They were one of the first to start a respiratory clinic for all things COVID, and the Commonwealth actually saw what they were doing and went, oh, this looks like a good idea, and hence why we've got the rest of the respiratory clinics popping up around New South Wales. So it's great that he's come on board to provide that insight to help support your message. And I think Laurie, forgive me if I'm wrong, but you reached out to all of your members to ask them, who do you know in your network? Who is famous? Who is an A grade, B grade, C grade celebrity that we can leverage off to help push this message out to market? And I want to applaud you all for all of your ideas and or for all of the contacts that you put us in connection with. That was hugely helpful. And I don't think the conversation stops here. So after this meeting, Laurie and I are jumping off, and Laurie's having a wonderful interview with Channel 9 News, which will go to air tonight, the 6 p.m. news. It is the highest rating news broadcast in New South Wales. So fingers crossed that we don't get bumped. That is a very real possibility with all things in public relations. So, we can only go as far as we can go, but we've started the conversation. And I guess I wanted to open it up to the rest of you now as to if you had any questions for me. Do you have any concerns? I'm at your disposal to have a bit of a Q&A if you're interested.
Brilliant. Thank you, Diana. And yeah, please jump in. Obviously, this is a really key time for us to leverage our story as well as try to jump on it to try to influence change, and change for particularly term 4 as it gets closer and closer. So look, I'd really be keen even if you want to share your story with Diana, because what's happening now after today is that she's prepared a media release which will then go broader and to a lot more media outlets, and hopefully seeing what's happened with Channel 9, or if we get bumped, hopefully we can still get some traction into all of the other particular media outlets. Diana, where does the media release go?
Yeah, so next stage is that whatever goes to air tonight, the way that media works is that they like to have an exclusive. So I can't go to different networks now with the same story or the same group of people. They want to take a different angle on it. But all things going perfectly well for us today, then the media release, I will send it out to all the like ABC Radio National, who have, numerous different outlets throughout New South Wales, regional newspapers, outdoor and education magazines, trade publications. I'm certainly open to your suggestions. If there is any that you would like me to speak to directly, I'm more than happy to do so. What else was I going to say? That's probably the next step. I also want to broach that I think the conversation stems a lot more than just the open letter. I think there is this whole opportunity to start a conversation from an economic perspective. I know that a lot of you have not been able to fully function since the end of last year due to the fires, smoke, floods, whatever the case may be, now a pandemic. From the research that I've had, that I've been lucky enough to get from a couple of your contacts that you've put me in touch with, the conversation is so much more than just the statement from the Premier. So I definitely think you've got multiple avenues to amplify your voices and your concerns for the industry. And it's just, what's the old saying? There's many ways to skin a cat. And I think there are different ways that we can do this. If one way doesn't work, there's definitely an opportunity to explore different ways. But, we have to sort of prioritize, and we have to make sure that we've got the resources available to us. And when I say resources, I mean case studies, spokespeople, anyone that we can sort of leverage to really support our story.
Brilliant.
Laurie, Diana, may I ask a question? Troy there, Outward Bound Australia. Diana, great to meet you, and thank you. Diana, I'm just interested with your years of experience with publicists and that sort of thing, and sorry, dog, dealing with the media. Obviously, there's a number of different stakeholders in the community and different perspectives. Have you anticipated or identified where there could be resistance to the message as it's being put out, and essentially getting ahead of any spot fires, that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. From a crisis management perspective, I mean, the biggest thing that I flagged with Laurie from the very beginning in relation to what we're doing today and in relation to the open letter was the fact that you don't want to piss off a stakeholder, and that stakeholder is the New South Wales government. So as part of our messaging, we have made sure that anyone who is speaking on behalf of this collective here is that, you know, we know, one, showing that you're relatable. Being relatable is really key, that you know that you're all in this together. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, everyone's been impacted by this. And secondly, that you applaud what the government has done thus far to keep everyone safe from COVID, and that their safety measures that have been put in place are certainly something to be proud of compared to what's happening in the US, what's happening in Italy, what's happening in Victoria. So, you know, we're not here to point fingers and to point blame. We're just simply trying to start the conversation to say, if you want to make something like this, we just ask you to refine it slightly so that, you know, it is more realistic and that we are looking at the big picture, whether that's the mental health outcomes, whether that's the economic outcomes. So yes, we've started that conversation. I have always been very careful about that. I asked Laurie first, one of the first questions I asked her was, who are your key stakeholders? Apart from each of you who are members, we need to look further than that because we don't want to be penalised for having a voice.
Yeah, and just in that vein, I guess one of the stakeholders is, just given that everyone has time at the moment to have an opinion, is just trying to anticipate that that little voice out there that says, hey, why them but not me? And sort of makes that sort of noise. So I think it's really important to, as you said, to concentrate on the outcomes, the resilience, the need for nature, and the need for people to be out in it, because everyone wants to be out there, but there can be a bit of I guess, I'm not going to say jealousy, but a bit of, hey, you know, my business is closed down, why should theirs get to start up again? So
yeah.
Just identifying that as a potential sniping as well.
Look, to be honest with you, Troy, it's not isolated to just you. Like, for instance, there are funding arrangements that brothels can get, but small businesses can't. That it to me, logically, that doesn't make sense, and that's a whole other problem that we're dealing with. And I guess all the policy makers that are scrambling to try and support the state, it's hard to deal with it all as a collective. And I think that you're absolutely right. There is going to be those naysayers that say, well, how come them and not us? But I think we need to really control the messaging, and the messaging that we've put forward is that a lot of outdoor education, you are in the business of risk management. And I think that it's about managing the exposure and managing the risk of COVID. And if you can't do that properly, then you're probably in the wrong game. So I think it's kind of stipulating it from putting it into layman's terms, and to also have that medical support from Dr. Humphries, for instance, who is definitely on your side. He's giving you that credibility to say, look, as long as you've got all of those COVID precautions and measures in place. And Laurie's even found an article in, was it the Washington Post today, about how they worked, you know, outdoors in a camp and how they kept everyone quite in the same groups, and there wasn't a sort of relationships across groups. They managed to keep COVID at bay. So it's absolutely doable.
I have Sam to thank for that one. Sam's on the line. Sam sent that to me this morning. So thanks, Sam.
That was a great article. So yeah, absolutely. I think I forgot where I was going with that. Sorry, we went on a bit of a tangent.
That's the stakeholders, the messages, all that. Thank you very much, Diana.
No worries. I hope that sort of answered some.
Thanks, Troy. Anyone else like to ask a question, or even just if they need some tips on how they can capitalise with their local press? Because in regional areas, sometimes the local press are really eager to get onto some of these stories.
Just before we do that, one of the groups that we need to take along with us on this ride are the land managers, parks, councils, water managers, people that manage our water that we might be paddling on or whatever. A lot of those organisations are quite nervous about how safe their staff will be. and how if more people start going outdoors in larger groups, what sort of legal liability they might have. So we probably need to make sure that they're a part of the the movement forward, rather than becoming sitting on the side saying, I'm not sure we like this idea.
Yeah, no, completely hear you, Dave. And I think we've got most of our stakeholders that are land managers or landowners on board with us right now. But it's an interesting thing long term that we need to concentrate on as well, and how we influence policy change coming out of this. Mark, what have you got there? Our solicitor told us experts in risk. Mark, do you want to talk to that? You there?
Yeah, Laurie, the only thing I remember is that a couple of times we've been asked to provide risk management plans for projects, and had government people tell us that they're unable to provide feedback because they don't have the expertise in this area. And I was talking to our solicitor about it one time, and he was saying that really the only people in or organisations in business who are experts in risk management are insurers, because they're managing the risk of premiums and policies that we actually take out with them. So I was just starting to wonder when your speaker talked about we're experts in risk management. Well, perhaps we should get the other experts in risk management to turn around and say what we're doing is correct.
That's good.
I would just mention to that that at the start of the pandemic, most insurers turned around and said, you're not insured for a pandemic. Having just gone through like reinsuring oil operations and that sort of thing, there wasn't a lot changing with the pandemic. Insurers just sort of want to know that everything is in place that can be done, that you're operating to the letter of the law, compliance, regulation, and that you've got a bunch of paperwork in place, that is systems documentation, which evidence what you're doing. And of course, at the moment, a big one is the COVID safe plan. So making sure you've got a COVID safe plan, which is contextualized for your location and operations. Our insurers seemed pretty happy with all of that going forward. But as you get someone to actually speak about it, I don't know. Insurance Council has actually been pretty silent for a few months now.
Diana, you had a comment?
Oh, I was just going to say that it seems to be like it's that's actually a really good point, but it's a bigger issue that I think needs to be addressed, and I don't know the right people to address it, but as a collective you probably need to have a look at maybe getting a health expert on board on representing you to a degree, saying that the industry as a whole can function under these following requirements or prerequisites that also cater to tailoring it from a risk management perspective as well.
Yeah, I think that you're dead right on that, and that's why we've gone we've actually developed a COVID safe plan for the sector that we've delivered to Department of Health to see if they could sign it off. Amongst all the cluster that they're being totally sideways with the workload that's been involved in that, so haven't had the time to really look at that plan. But I think that would tick that box if we're able to get them to say, yes, this is a good plan for what you do as activity providers. Have you got any tips, Diana, about how people can liaise with their local media on this if they want to, help us escalate this at regional level? Have you got any ideas you can give them?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how many of you here have been interviewed by local media or have a relationship with your local journo? All it takes is initially that conversation, and if you're a little bit, great, awesome, I like the thumbs up. Even if even if you're a little bit worried about that, feel free, Laurie, you've got my number. Feel free to reach out to me and say, hey, look, I've got these following contacts, or I've worked with these people in the past. You know, how do I start the conversation? And I'm more than happy to help guide you on that. But at the end of the day, they're human beings. They're not going to be as busy as the guys in the middle of Sydney CBD. And they're always after a story, and they're always after content. So I think all it takes is picking up the phone, give them a call and say, hey, I've got an industry-wide issue for you that I think would be really worthwhile having a chat about. Would you be interested? They'll either say one of two things, yes or no.
Great advice, thank you. And don't underestimate the power of radio too in regional areas. Something that I did a long time ago, too long ago, is have a regular spot on the local radio station to talk about things that were in my sector, and they loved that because they had that, felt like they were engaged in that particular area of business. So if you feel that, you know, whether you're confident or not, certainly over time you will be more confident as you do it, but having that continual engagement not only promotes you and what you do, but the sector as a whole, and that's a great way to increase the exposure on what we do. So yeah, again, like Diana said, if you really want some individual tips on different things, email me. If I can't answer it, I'm going to use my brain's trust here to help me in delivering something back to you. Mel just asked, how do you find local media? Okay. Diana?
Whereabouts are you based, Mel?
Mel's the one we spoke to earlier in Northern Rivers.
Right. Sorry, Tweed. Yeah. Right. Okay. Look, to be honest with you, if you get a local paper, you can Google it. You can just simply Google media in Tweed Valley area. I know Tweed, what have you got? You've got Kingscliff just down from you. I would pick a radius, so I'd go maybe 50 kilometers south of you, to the west of you, north of you, whatever, and then just see there's plenty of websites out there. There's a news aggregate. I think it's newspapers.com.au, and you type in your region and it will list all of the local newspapers that fit that region, and then it will go to their website, and all it takes is a phone call. Or there's normally emails there straight to the editor. So you can just shoot off an email straight to the editors. Have a look on Facebook. There's podcasts out there. Even if it's like a radio station, just Google radio stations near me, and they'll tell you their footprint of where, what their coverage area is like. But yeah, again, if it might be worth to, I don't know, Laurie, if you can start like a media database, just a collective where people can start pumping in all of the names of their local contacts and what areas that they cover, and then using the brain's trust. You never know who might know someone to help leverage off that network or that connection. It becomes a bit of a Bible, a media Bible. But Google's probably your best bet, Mel. Be as specific as possible. TV stations, they don't do as much local anymore. They're all syndicated from the metro areas, but your closest would probably be the Gold Coast. I can definitely have a look for you. If you're really stumped, just shoot me your area. That goes for all of you, and I'll just do a quick look on the networks that I've got and populate a couple of responses for you as starting points.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Diana. I know it's been an interesting week, and it's going to be continuing an interesting morning. So thank you for joining us, and I'll connect with you offline. I'll keep going with the agenda, and then I'll hand over to Marty. So the next speaker we have, Annette and Simon, are you on the line? Can't see them there. Annette. Annabella, sorry. Are you there? Yes, I can hear you now. Are you there? No, I can't hear you. Can't see if I can unmute you. No, we can't hear you, Annabella. There you are. I can see you there. No, I can't hear you. Do you want to see if you want to dial in on your phone, and we can see you on video? If you want to dial in on the phone number that was on the link, we might be able to, no, I can't hear you, unfortunately. While Annabella gets sorted, and I know she's got Simon as well, Kids Book is a platform where a lot of parents are searching for things for their kids to do in school holidays. And what Annabella has managed to do is get some insight into what they're looking for the next coming school holidays and ongoing, and give you a bit of insight into some of the things that you might be able to tweak your product to suit what they're looking for. And she was just going to share with you what she's up to with her website. So I might hand over to Mun, because I've got to duck outside to some very important guests, and hand over to you, Marty.
Thanks, Laurie.
No worries. See you all.
Excellent. Thank you very much. All right. Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is Martin Burney. I am the president of Outdoors New South Wales and ACT. We've just gone through our AGM, and I'm continuing in my role for another year. Laurie asked me to join the Friday Forum. Usually I don't, I haven't been on it. Obviously I get updates from Laurie all the time as the CEO. She reports up through to the board on this Friday Forum, and it's been absolutely wonderful seeing the amount of people that are engaging in this. She's asked me just to jump in and help facilitate. As she mentioned, she's heading off to Channel 9 interview, which hopefully will get some airtime this evening. So as I said, she's just asked me to jump in. So a little bit winging it a little bit, but happy to be here and help facilitate some of the conversations as we go for the next half hour. So it looks like we are still trying to get Annabella on the line. Can you have a chat? Can we hear you yet? No, we've got no sound at all, unfortunately. It might be worth hanging up completely, dumping out of this meeting. Yep. Yeah, a whole lot of facial non-verbal communication going on with her at the moment, but it seems like we are getting somewhere with her. Anyway, while we wait for Annabella to jump back in, I am happy to open the floor for further conversation around the last presentation around media. I've got the chat line up. If you want to put some stuff up on the chat, I can read that as well to bring that into the fore. So, yeah,
Martin,
go.
I might just jump in there, and I'm David Gregory from Skeggs Redlands, and I'm just down at High Country campus at the moment, which is our campus in Jindabyne. And in relation to the discussion we just had, there's quite a disconnect between the real risk management, which we run as an industry for all of our programs, versus the compliance that the government really throws on us. And I guess there's not a lot we can do about this at this point in time, but I was up at Perisher the other day, and they are operating, and they're operating under reduced capacity, but also they're operating with really strong compliance with all the signs and with all the hand wash and with this, that, and the other. But the reality is that you're funneled into these ski lines and you're shoulder to shoulder with someone, and then you're getting on a ski lift and you're at the either end of the ski lift. So you're basically going from here with everyone to here with everyone. And it's that window dressing to get it going. And this is why it's so frustrating for us as an industry, because we know when we're taking groups of kids out or programs out, we are actually applying good risk management practices. And I know it's not the most pleasant thing, but if you say when you're out in a wilderness area and you have a case of gastroenteritis, we're used to dealing with a highly infectious disease in a situation where we can't get help in an easy way. And so unfortunately, this has been lost in a lot of the discussions. So anyway, I just thought I'd sort of flag that point of my observations of an industry that is going. And I don't begrudge that, because we run as part of the ski industry down here as well with our programs. But it's also frustrating that all of our year level camps are still cancelled because of whatever reason. And yeah, so I just thought I'd share those observations. Yeah,
thanks, David. It is interesting. Obviously, you're right there seeing that, and I'm sure there's examples around the state where other industries are operating, whereas our industry, which, as you say, we're used to managing hygiene quite quite well in this industry, and we've been overlooked, unfortunately. Yeah, it's really interesting. Annabella, you've joined us now with your phone.
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, I certainly can. Yeah,
Oh,
we can hear
great.
you now. That's absolutely wonderful. Apologies
Sorry
for
about
the
that.
technical. No, that's absolutely fine. Well done for sorting it out.
That's okay. Thank you. Thanks for having me join in this morning. I have to thank Helen from Primal Adventures. That's the contact that has brought me on this morning and introduced me to Laurie. And we met Helen a couple of weeks ago because she's pivoted in her business and started offering camps for kids for the school holidays, and we were really excited to have Helen join the platform with her great camps for year 5, 6 and some tweens, and we had a whole lot of kids that came on board, and the government then changed their COVID guidelines, so we had to postpone the camp, and that left a lot of disappointed families and disappointed kids. As I can hear, everyone's very frustrated and confused as to how we operate and have, trying to operate in outdoors and as normal as possible. But so Kids Book we're a new platform. We basically just started in April. Not great timing in terms of trying to launch a kids activity platform with COVID coming on board, but we're persevering, and we've got quite a lot of providers that have come on board. And one of the things we wanted to do was really start to target outdoors, because we could see with parents that they really wanted their kids to get off screens. There's been so much on-screen learning this year. So what we did was we had a couple of focus groups in the last few weeks, and just to chat to parents as to what they were wanting. Now, one of the things that we've seen, parents tended to sort of book school holiday activities out 4 weeks in advance, which would be about now. Parents are quite nervous because they're booking kids into activities and they don't know if they're going to go ahead. So they're holding back. So we're seeing a bit of a shift to last minute bookings. So that's one trend that I can see. And then the other thing is they're really looking to understand more about how providers are keeping their kids safe. So the questions that came up were, what are the ratios? They all have an assumption that everyone's got working with children checks and the standards of, that are required, but they're now more worried about ratios, COVID safe plans, into kids mixing outside of schools. They're the main things that came up. So parents are really looking more locally, like in their backyard, not traveling too far out for activities, where before they might have looked to send their kids or, go somewhere further out. They're really focusing in shorter radiuses and smaller radiuses. They're also willing to travel as a family. So this is the other thing, going out on a holiday in New South Wales as a family, and then booking the kids into activities where they go. So you're seeing that trend where they'll go, the parents can still work because there's a lot of working from home. They'll book holidays. Parents will work, but book their kids in activities in that local area. So they're the things that came up mainly. And then the other trend was some families just want more online things, which I found quite interesting, and offering private camps, so where they can organise their own groups and then approach providers. So I've just done that with a sailing club this week. I had a group of kids, and that group grew to about 12, and they wanted to go sailing. So I went out and found them a 4-day sailing course, but the kids all know each other. So that's the kind of thing that we're seeing at the moment.
So Annabella, your website and your organisation is a bookings.
We're a booking platform.
Yep.
We're a booking platform. So, yeah, so basically providers come on board. At the moment, we're not actually charging providers. We've actually gone quite a few months without charging providers because we know they're doing it tough. So for these next school holidays, anyone who comes on as a provider won't be charged. So if anyone books, it'll be free. And yeah, like, you know, we've got a lot of providers which tend to be mainly Sydney based, but we were hoping to go and start putting on more outdoor camps that parents could send their kids to, say, in the spring holidays. Some are running and some aren't. So,
and do you do a sort of a check on COVID safe plans for your members, I guess?
No, we haven't. So that's one thing that we are going to start asking that they do. But as you've mentioned, there's no real. The only thing that I've ever seen is that sort of logo that says "We're COVID safe." But we don't ask members at the moment if they do have that tick of approval, I suppose. It's all very new because we haven't ventured really out into outdoor activities on the platform.
Sure.
We see providers are actually running camps, but at a much reduced rate in terms of kids that they're taking on.
Okay, well, given this is a sort of a new area that you're reaching out into, I mean, you've got a fair diverse range of people on the line now. I guess there's probably questions you could ask, but also if there's any questions from the floor that would like to ask questions of Annabella.
I guess just a comment from me. There's sort of a sense of irony to the fact that it's some of it sort of seems like snatch and grab. That the parent wants to send out a student with no lead time, and no sort of booking commitment, but then also the expectation is that a lot of planning has been done, which can be well explained to show how their child will be kept safe. So, you know, we have done a fair bit of lead work before offering the product, but getting that language and that language of the COVID safe plan and how things will be. How are you seeing the parents want that explained?
Well, that's one thing that we're looking at is having a video, a little video of the provider speaking is one thing that we're actually going to start to try and develop quite quickly, because I think if providers are actually talking about how they're keeping the kids safe, how the business works, I think parents will be more engaged than reading a lot of text on a screen. So that's one thing that we're going to try and implement quite quickly.
Annabella,
yeah.
So with Outward Bound, we've been doing a fair bit of filming on exactly that. And the instructors actually explaining what they're doing with the groups and first day briefings, that sort of thing. So if you'd like to get in touch with me afterwards, then happy to put you in contact with our client manager who's collating those and see if that, it'd be great to have you as a sounding board as to whether that sounds well to the parents.
Okay, that'd be great. So I didn't catch your name.
Troy Dare with Outward Bound Australia.
Okay, thanks, Troy. I appreciate that.
I'll put my email into the chat.
Okay, great. The website for Kids Book is www.kidsbook.io. So am I able to hand out my email here, Martin?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, you can put it in the chat. That's absolutely fine.
Okay. I'll put my email in the chat, and if anyone wants to get in touch with me, just send me an email. And if we can help in any way with, just information and that's one of the things in media. We actually had a good conversation with Helen about trying to get her more into the press. Then we're sort of happy to do that as well.
Great, thanks, Annabelle. I think one of the interesting things about this type of program that I think our members would find is usually we deal with some of our members deal with schools, and so you're dealing with one client contact. With a holiday program and the like, it's what you'd consider an open program, open enrollments, and you're dealing with every parent, which is quite tricky. So are you saying with Kids Book, that's the work that you do in terms of the booking and the facilitating the sharing of information back and forth? That's all done through Kids Book, or are you just putting people in touch with the organisation?
We're going to actually be doing both. So when you sign up as a provider, you set up your profile page. And on that profile page, it's basically like a marketing page for yourself. And on that, and you'll get a unique link, which is your Kids Book profile page, which you can then share on. And on that page, you can go and change whatever you like at any time. So you're active on the website, on the platform yourself. And you can update that information as you please. So, and we've got some providers who are very active and do their own back end. And then we're also there to help providers who are not so tech savvy. We can actually do it in liaison with them. So then there's that. And that will start to come on in the next few months, where all parents can actually see who's on the website, and there'll be a direct inquiry to yourselves that parents can have that conversation with you directly. And at the same time, you can list and upload activities that you're running that you would like to get bookings to. So it's got two purposes really.
Sure, great.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian's got a question directly for Annabella.
Hi, Annabella. Brian from YouthWorks COE. I just have a question regarding bookings and payments. We currently, I imagine most would, have our own booking system and online booking platform. And in regards to payments and things like that, there's a range of different payment gateways. Now, looking at your website, it looks like the banking section only includes Stripe payments. Is there ways to include different payment gateways, or currently is it just Stripe?
Currently, it's just Stripe. We just actually found that using Stripe, they actually charge quite a minimal fee in terms of the transaction of banking to banking, and it also means that we don't hold your funds, right? So it takes the liability away from us. Those funds are pretty much transferred quite quickly from us straight to the provider. So there's no pool that we hold the funds for a while and then distribute the funds.
Yeah, okay. No worries. And thank you for that, Annabella.
Yeah, and it's quite easy to set up a Stripe account. So, and we can help talk to anyone about that as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks.
It's interesting. I think a lot of organisations are certainly diversifying, and I think whilst holiday camps is something that people have always dabbled in, I think there's definitely a higher need now, given the school clientele has dropped off through the term. So I think the holiday programs are an area that a lot of organisations are trying to grab at the moment to get a little bit of income coming in. Does anyone else have any questions for Annabella? Okay, can't see any hands going up or any chat messages. Is anyone open to offering what programs they might be planning on running if they are doing sort of exploring this area of holiday programs? Any challenges that they might be facing?
Sure, Martin. Happy to mention, give an insight to what we're doing. So we got out early there with Duke of Edinburgh programs, and we are currently running, well, not currently, but we have run Duke of Edinburgh residentials at Darwin in the ACT, and also Duke of Edinburgh hikes up north, Central Coast, that sort of thing. We are currently taking bookings from schools in the ACT, and also public programs in the ACT. Obviously, they look a bit different. And last week we had our I guess, national get-together, a lot more online than usual for Outward Bound. But that also included new training and high ropes courses, flying foxes, that sort of thing. So how to actually operate those things. And I know that Dave Chitty did a lot of work with that, Dave, early in the piece with abseiling. Hiking is certainly the easiest thing to do, but there's only so much market for hiking, and so there's the need to look at what can be stood up again and how that is trained and operates with everything you need to do, and so that the group, your audience, is interested and enjoys and gets outcomes from it.
Right. Thanks, Troy. Yeah, go. I'm not sure your name. Sorry, I'm looking at you. You can't tell that I'm looking at you, but
Helen from Primal Adventures.
Helen, thank you.
And I had 3 school holiday programs, and as Annabella said, I've cancelled them for the next school holidays as the latest information came out early last week. There were 3 and 4 day camps. Obviously they can't go ahead. One of them I've moved to the December school holidays, and the other ones I won't be able to run until the April school holidays, as a lot of the clients are from public schools and won't be available until kind of later on in December. But I guess, yeah, it's a tricky time to be doing, I think, anything in the upcoming school holidays, because I guess if you do go ahead with it, there's the risk that there'll be adverse outcomes. And if you don't go ahead with it, the kids aren't serviced, and there's just, they don't have activities to do. Potentially I could run day trips in the school holidays, but again, the latest guidelines say you're not supposed to travel outside of your area, and you're not supposed to carpool and all that sort of thing. No bus transport outside of your local area. So, I could do some day trips in the local area, but it just seems that the cost benefit type, it's not a sustainable approach to running school holiday programs. So I guess my bottom line is waiting for next year and get out there with a great product that's been well sort of thought out and targeted to the right market.
Yeah, tricky times, isn't it? Thanks, Helen.
Can I just jump in there just to answer Helen? I've just had that conversation because, like I said, we had quite a few kids hoping to go and join Helen's camp in September. The one that Helen's hoping to run in December, Helen, I just want you to know that a lot of public school parents are actually willing to pull their kids out of school in those days to send them to camp, because they just feel that there's been nothing offered at school this year for their kids, and they're happy for them to miss 3 days of school to go on camp with you than not do it at all.
Good to know. And, maybe that's where sort of the private camp approach with students from the one school could potentially...
Yes, could work.
Go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah.
That's really interesting. There's definitely an appetite there, isn't there, from the parents to get their kids out there?
There's a big appetite.
Yeah. Particularly with single parents and things like that who haven't had a break all year.
Of course. Yeah.
Hi, it's Marty from the Office of Sport here. So I work at Point Wollstonecroft Sport and Rec Centre.
Hi, Marty.
And we're looking at a whole range of different activities that will probably deliver as an outreach type activity, where once again we're not looking at running our school holiday programs in the next school holidays. We'll look to further on, maybe look at January, hopefully look at January anyway. But in terms of what our outdoor educators are doing at the moment, they're very much focusing on some outreach programs that we can deliver. We've also been in touch with some of the human service agencies. There's a lot of programs and a lot of activities that can't be delivered at the moment, especially around mental health. So we're looking at whether we can, upskill our deliverers, because we have a case of really good, fantastic presenters who have great experience in delivering to kids, especially, but a whole range of age groups. So we're looking at whether we can jump onto the back of some of those things that haven't been delivered for a while and actually go and do them on an outreach basis. So that's one of the things we're doing. We're also looking at some activities with the Children's University. Children's University is one of the University of Newcastle in South Australia, I think, but they have a whole range of school holiday activities. So we're looking at delivering a couple of programs. That's on an online format. So we'll look at some nature-based activities so that we can get kids to go out and explore their backyard and have that kind of as a facilitated activity during the school holidays.
Right.
So there's just some of the things that we're looking at. I thought I'd throw them out there.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. It's really interesting. A diverse range of products there. It's great. It's really good. Annabella, just checking in terms of your kids book, is it Sydney based, New South Wales based, Australia based?
We started Sydney based, but we're open to everywhere. We're national. Eventually we'll hope to go national. So wonderful. Geography is not a limit.
Okay, great.
And I guess just to kind of talk to the credibility of Kids Book, David, who's developing Kids Book with Annabella, has also already developed a couple of other platforms like home improvement pages and natural therapy pages. So
yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
expertise behind doing a great job and making this really work.
Great.
Yeah. And we've been speaking to a lot of our providers and learning a lot from providers and adopting, to what providers want on the platform as well. At the moment, we've focused on providers initially. We've gone back to parents at the moment, talking to parents, improving the platform for parents. We'll go back to providers again. So we're in that yo-yoing of really trying to make the platform a good experience. And as Helen said, David's been around for a while developing marketplaces and booking systems. So he's really responsive and always happy to listen and talk to anybody as well. Very approachable. So thanks, Helen, for that endorsement.
And there is just a question on the chat about COVID Safe in New South Wales from Mark and Denise, Mulga Bicycle Tours, obviously saying that they are registered as a COVID safe business in New South Wales, but there does not seem to be a way for clients to verify that we are registered. So look, that's definitely something I can take back to the board as well, and to Laurie, to see if we can have some conversations around that. Annabella, I don't know if you've got any comment on that.
No, I think that's really interesting, because it is how to capture that and get that across to parents is going to be something that we probably need to do quite quickly.
Yeah.
And
follow up there for the OCA, the Outdoor Council of Australia, to maybe develop a certification system. I saw Dom Courtney on the line before. He seems to have dropped off again, but he's the chair of OCA at the moment, so it's something that we can certainly raise with him as well. So yeah, really good comments. Just looking at the time, Annabella, is there any final questions or thoughts regarding this topic?
Not for me, no.
Anybody
but
else?
I'm interested to hear that there are some online nature offerings, which is fantastic. If it gets the kids out, instead of searching for Pokemon and searching for things in nature, that'd be great.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you thanks for updating on what you're doing. It's a wonderful medium for us for the outdoors to promote and engage different user groups into the programs in the outdoors. So thank you so much for joining us today, Annabella. It's been wonderful having you there. Your email address is in the chat, and of course, if anyone misses it or loses it, just feel free to get in touch with Outdoors New South Wales ACT, and we can put you in touch directly with Annabella, and also our previous guest, who is currently being interviewed by Channel 9 at the moment. So hopefully tonight we might get some exposure around this as well, which would be really, really important for getting or for allowing New South Wales in a safe way to re-engage with the outdoors. It's so important for everyone's mental health during this challenging time. Thank you everybody for joining today. I think these forums, the amount of people engaged in them, show their worth to everyone. It's absolutely wonderful that Laurie's facilitating these. Thank you for bearing with me, joining and stepping in for Laurie at the last minute. I appreciate your patience with me. And it's wonderful to see and meet everybody online. As I said, I am the president of Outdoors New South Wales and ACT. If you want to discuss anything with me directly, I am always open. You can get my email is president@outdoorsnewsouthwales.org.au or go through Laurie if you'd like to get in touch with me directly. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'm sure we will all see you and talk to you again next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.